Good morning. This is the podcast Ancient Rome Today. In the previous episode, we explored how rich people of Rome lived on the Palatine Hill. But what about ordinary people? Where did they live and in which conditions? What was the apartment rent price 2,000 years ago? We'd like to respond to all these questions in this episode. While rich people lived in grand palaces with gardens and many servants at place, ordinary people lived in so-called insulae, multi-storeyed buildings. Some remains of those historical buildings are still visible on the slopes of the Campidoglio Hill, right at the base of the Ara Coeli steps. Another piece of the ancient insula is located between the Pantheon and the Aurelian Column. The first insulas were built in the 4th century BC. They looked very similar to modern condominiums, but with fewer conveniences. A typical insula was composed of 5 stories, where each one was associated with a definite social class. Poor people occupied the upper stories, while wealthier people lived on the first floors. Such classification was based on the following factors: the absence of elevators, and the need to climb uncomfortable stairs, frequent fires, absence of bathrooms on the upper floors. As a rule, the insulae were built using mixed masonry for the first floors and wood on the upper floors. There were many apartments on each floor, but all of them were rather small, poorly ventilated and illuminated. When someone cooked, the odour diffused across the entire building. Only the ground and first floors were connected to the public aqueduct. All the people on the upper floors didn't have access to water. Another problem was the absence of the trash bin. That's why people throw waste out of the window onto the street. Life in insulas was far from a fairy tale. Due to such unfavourable conditions, the infections and epidemics diffused with ease. As for the rent prices, the cost for a simple accommodation was around 2,000 sesterces per year. It's around 10,000 euros. A more spacious room cost was around 3,000 sesterces per year. It's around 15,000 euros. The modern analogues of insulas are the condominiums. In contrast to the ancient buildings of ordinary Romans, the contemporary houses are for people of any social status. In some countries, there might still be houses that look like insulas. However, in European countries, the apartments are comfortable and sometimes cost millions of euros. Thank you for your attention.